Okay, good morning, fourth grade friends. We are going to start lesson 5 in chapter 9, which is adding and subtracting mixed numbers. So let's say you needed to find out, I'm going to plant a garden, and some portion of my garden is going to, I'm going to use a certain number of trays of string beans, and I'm going to use a certain number of trays of cucumbers, let's say. Alrighty, so let's say I'm going to use 2 6/10 trays of flowers, starter flowers of cucumbers, and 1 2/10 trays of string beans. And I want to know, well, how many plants am I going to use all together? Okay? So, when you are going to add a mixed number, it's really kind of hard to do it sideways like this. It's much better to do it up and down. So let's rewrite this going hamburger style instead of hot dog style. Okay? Now, I have to be careful when I do this that I line up my fraction parts, that I line up my ones, and if I had tens and hundreds and whatever, I would also line them up, just the way I would do if I was doing a regular addition problem. It's very important that all your fractions are by each other and all of your whole numbers are properly aligned. All right, so the first step you do is you add your fractions. Now, lucky for us, the fraction denominators are the same. So my fraction, the denominator in my fraction is going to be 10 because it's a 10 here and it's a 10 here. So all I have to do now is add my numerators. What is 6 plus 2? Right, 8. So I've got 8/10 as my fraction part. Now I can add my whole number parts, and I have 2 plus 1, which is 3. So I've got an answer of 3 8/10. But I have to ask myself, is that in simplest form? That is a question I must always ask myself. Once you were taught how to simplify, now you have to simplify your answer all the time. Okay, you have to reduce it. You have to make sure it's in lowest terms. Alrighty, so I put my equal sign. It's very important. You can't just leave a space. You have to put an equal sign there. And I bring over my whole number because I don't have to do anything to my whole number. It's just the fraction part. So now I have to say to myself, what is the biggest number that will go into 8 evenly with no remainder and will also go into the denominator 10 evenly with no remainder? So first I have to think of, what are my factors of 8? Well, my factors of 8 are 1 times 8 and 2 times 4, and that's it. What are my factors of 10? Well, I have 1 times 10, and I have 2 times 5, and that's it. So what's the biggest number that appears as a factor of 8 and also as a factor of 10? You are right, it is 2. So I need to divide the top by 2 and the bottom by 2. 8 divided by 2 will be 4, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. I still have to look at my last answer there and say, is there any number other than 1 that'll go into both a 4 and a 5? And my answer is no. So now I know this is in simplest form, so I circle it. Just like what we did in the review. The denominators are the same. The only thing now is we were adding whole numbers as well. It's just like adding fractions with like denominators. Now we're adding mixed numbers that have like denominators. So that's adding. What if I want to subtract? Let's say I was given a different subtraction problem. Let's say I was given, well, let's use the same numbers that we had before. Let's use 2 6/10 minus 1 2/10. Now, and it equals something. Remember, subtraction is harder to do sideways. It's better if you write it up and down. So let's rewrite it. 2 6/10. Don't squish it on the lines. Leave yourself lots of room. You leave lots of space. Notebook paper, we can get you more notebook paper if you run out. It's worse if you cram it all together, so leave it separately. Put my minus sign over here, line up my whole numbers, line up my fractions, equals. So I've got 2 6/10 minus 1 2/10. Same thing, start with your fractions. I look at the denominators, ho holla, they're the same, so I could just put my 10 in my denominator. Now I can subtract 6 minus 2. 6 minus 2 is 4. So I've got 4/10 as my fraction part. 2 minus 1 is 1. So 1 4/10 is my answer. But remember, you can't just stop there. You have to say to yourself, is this in simplest form? Is there some number that will go into my numerator evenly and the same number will go into my denominator evenly? And you know what? They're both even numbers, so that means 2 will go into both of them. Remember, the factors of 4 are 1, 2, and 4. So those are the only numbers you can use. Will 1 go into 10? Yeah, but you're not allowed to use it. Will 2 go into 10? Yes. Will 4 go into 10 evenly? No. So the only one you can use is 2. So I bring over my whole number, because I don't do anything with my whole number. I just bring it over to the other side of the equal sign. Now I divide my 4 by 2. And what is 4 divided by 2? Right? 2. And 10 divided by 2? 5. Now, just because you did it doesn't mean you picked the biggest number. So you have to look at this again and say, is there any number that will go into both 2 evenly and the same number will go into 5 evenly without a remainder? And it can't be the number 1. Well, the only factors of 2 are 1 and 2. So will 2 go into 5 evenly? No, it will not. So now it's in simplest form, so I circle it. That's it. That's the whole thing.